Hello, everybody, and welcome to Voices of the Goddess podcast, where we empower, inspire, and uplift women to be the goddesses they are meant to be. I am Julietta, the magical PT here in sunny Fort Lauderdale, and I have my own private practice because I work too differently to get along working with other people.
It's all good.
Right? And what I'm most excited about right now is in a few days, I'm leaving to Egypt. And I'm going to go hang out with all the ancient Egyptian goddesses over there, like Sekhmet and Hathor and Isis and everybody else. So that's all I can think about right now.
I don't blame you. I'd feel the same way if I was you.
So introduce yourself, Allison.
So hello, everybody. My name is Allison Mancini, and I am a holistic nutritionist. Actually, just started this week getting my second certification in functional nutrition. I'm super excited about that because that's like my major.
Can you explain to people like what functional nutrition is?
Yeah, well, functional doctors, functional practitioners look at the body as a whole. They look at the system as a whole, and every part interacts with every other part. So it's really about, at the same time, it's also very individual. So yes, your body works as a whole, but you are different from Julietta, and I are completely different from each other. She may eat one thing and I could eat the same thing, and we're going to have completely different reactions to it. So it's really about looking at people individually, but taking into mind that everything affects everything else. And they really do focus on nutrition and, supplements, vitamins versus pharmaceuticals. So that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm excited about that. So doing that, I also am the human resources director for an amazing company called The Goal, like GOAL, Digger Girl. She does a lot of stuff on social media for coaches and network marketers. So I get to interact with her staff and help them with their wellness. And it's very exciting. I'm also a mom to two amazing young adults, 25 and 22, been married for 28 years. And did you say that we're both Midwesterners? No.
I didn't, because again, I'm like, my brain is already in Egypt.
It's in Egypt. You're already in Egypt. So that's pretty much, I think, it. And a podcaster. I'm a podcaster, co-host of a podcast.
You know what? I'm a podcaster too.
Imagine that. So you wanted to share something today.
So, and I've been talking about this for a while because this has been going on for a while because this book is like 20 some hours long. But in my car, I'm listening to Success Principles by Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul guy, in case you don't know that. Mm-hmm. And one of the chapters that I was recently listening to was suggesting that it's really good to get feedback. And a great way to get feedback is you can use this for relationships, for work, for products, services, whatever. Mm-hmm. So ask the other person, if you had to rate this product, this service, we're going to say this podcast on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 meaning it was horrible, 10 meaning it was super amazing, what number would you get it? And if the response you get back is not a 10, then you follow up with what would it take for this podcast to be a 10 for you? And so I was telling Allison about this before the show, and I want to invite all of our listeners out there to do us that favor and give us feedback and rate our podcast for you 1 to 10. And if it's a 10, that's awesome. And if it's not a 10, give us some feedback of what it would take for this podcast to be a 10 for you.
I think that's a great idea. Sorry, I had to mute my mic because the puppy is chewing on a bone literally right here. And I can hear him, but so I'm assuming you might be able to hear him.
Well, I couldn't hear any bone chewing, but that's okay.
So we've talked about Jack Canfield's book because I actually read it. It's back here on my bookshelf somewhere a couple of years back. It was before the pandemic because then when we were in the pandemic, I got a copy for my son because he was almost done with college. And I thought, this is such a great book to read before you head out into the real world, right? Sadly, it's so long that I think he probably only has read bits and pieces, which is fine. But the Audible version is a good idea. But I do remember that part about the scale. I can only imagine asking my husband, so on a scale of 1 to 10, honey, how do you feel about our relationship?
I was
You better say 10.
thinking about but I'm holding off. Maybe after Egypt, I'll ask that question.
Well, and okay, like, let's be real about this. And I really do want people to do this. So if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, if you're hearing this on our podcast, put it in a review, drop it in the comments below how you feel about our podcast. But like, seriously, if I asked you how you felt about our relationship from 1 to 10, right? Or if you asked me, I would feel like I have to say a 10. And it probably is pretty damn close to a 10. But even if it's not, I don't even know what I would tell you. Like,
I know. I was thinking about that a little bit too. I'm like, what would make it better? I don't know. If you moved east to the east side of Broward County, that would make our friendship a 10.
There you go. That would do it. That would do it. I'm in agreement there.
Awesome.
All right.
So are we ready to bring our guest on?
Yes, let's do this.
All right. We are excited today. We have Dr. Katie Henry joining us. Welcome, welcome.
Hey.
Hello.
Can you please take a moment and introduce yourself to our audience?
Absolutely. Well, I just wrote this down because I am a Midwesterner too. I live in Austin, Texas, but I'm from Michigan, met my husband in Chicago. Detroit suburbs is where I'm from. So
where? Wait, I'm from Michigan. I'm from Rochester.
Oh my God, my best friend from high school is from Rochester. I grew up in like Troy and Bloomfield Hills. My parents live in Bloomfield Hills.
My husband's from Grosse Pointe. Yeah, my husband's from Grosse Pointe. I'm from Rochester. My sister lives in Oakland, right there north of Rochester. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, next time you go to Austin, you two will have to get together at, what's the name of the place?
Wanderlust.
There you go.
Wanderlust. Yeah.
Maybe I'll come too.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, so such a small world. So I am I too, like Juliet, I'm a physical therapist, pediatric physical therapist. But like you, Allison, I have like a passion of actually like both of you, holistic approach to my work. I'm a holistic health coach, I'm a brain health coach. I don't know, I'm one of those like lifelong learners and a little bit of a nerd to learning and understanding things. So in addition to like the formal training that I have, I've also done a lot of work from a spirituality perspective, energy medicine, Reiki, mindset work, coaching, and all of that kind of stuff. And so what I do now in my work is I have my own practice as a pediatric physical therapist, but like Juliet, I was like, I have to do my own practice because I do my own thing. It's like physical therapy, energy, a little bit of like, let's look at the big picture of the family and how everything is happening from that perspective. And then I have a coaching practice where I work a lot with moms looking at their own mindset, their, work within how they're fueling themselves and their bodies and their families and all that kind of stuff. And I also do some mentoring and coaching with other healthcare providers and building and growing their own businesses and practices. So I have a lot of different things that I do, but it's really all in the world and the space of helping people to achieve their potential and what I like to call kind of activate the magic that's within them so that they can, live their most abundant life. And I believe that that's like a fusion of the mind, body, spirit, and soul. So yeah, I'm really excited for just to be a part of this with you guys and to dive into the conversation today.
Yay.
She's like our soul sister. Are you kidding me? Like,
right?
I'm listening to her going, yes, yes, yes. And she's a Midwest girl. Like, come on.
She's the whole package.
She is the whole package.
Yeah. All right. Well, we need to dive into our questions. So, Katie, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Absolutely.
All right. Our first question is, what is your superpower?
My superpower is really being able to see the potential that lies within somebody. Like in any capacity. I feel like I can always see like where people are going and looking in an individual level of what can I do to help you get there.
That is a great superpower and super useful in all of your, I was going to say profession, but I should say professions. Like, yeah, that's,
well, especially I think like you said, you work with a lot of moms, and moms like us we're like notorious for seeing everybody else's stuff and ignoring art, right? Like we don't acknowledge like the good things that we have. I think it's so common, especially with young mothers. They're just so focused on the kids and all of that stuff. So I think that's an amazing superpower.
Yeah, and I think it's really true for anyone who like does the work that all of us do too, is like we've got to take care of ourselves to show up to the fullest capacity of, the people that we work with. And I think that's what I found within myself. And then I realized, wait, I'm really good at this for other people. I can do it for myself. And so that was like part of my own evolution and journey, because I agree, it's so common with women, moms, anyone who's in like a helping profession. So yeah.
Awesome.
very cool. All right. Question number 2 is, what is your favorite book or book that has greatest influenced your life?
I have so many, but I think that one of my favorites is, and has always been, is The Alchemist. I've read that book so many times, and I think it's this kind of spark of like wonder, curiosity, but also the ability to like create something more for ourselves and our lives. And I love like parables and stories along those lines. So that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that book's come up quite a few times, and we read it for our book club. And I think like well, all of us here read a lot, but it's so rare that I'll read something that's a story. Most of the time it's some kind of self-help, inspirational, self-improvement, transformation, like it's all that. So to have something that possesses all of those qualities, but it's in a story form, is super cool.
Yeah.
So everybody out there, if you haven't read it yet, it's time to read it now. Very cool. All right. Question number 3 is, what is your favorite self-love practice?
Ooh, so that has evolved over time. I can say that for sure. Because, and I'm sure this happens for a lot of people, but like you think self-love is like getting your nails done or a massage or like whatever. And I think maybe part of it too is I'm pregnant right now, and I have found self-love, and I'm a firm believer in this, and I think it's so that more of us can practice it more often, is like finding the joy in the simple moments. So lately for me, it's been like going for a walk, and I'm grateful to live in the South now versus up north, but that it's like a sunny, gorgeous day and I can be outside in nature and just present. Phones away, maybe I'll have music, but just actual presence in the moment. I think that as so many of us are so busy, I mean, let's be real, I'm doing this from my car because I'm in between appointments and whatnot, but an act of self-love is this conversation, to be present in it, to be present in even 5 minutes outside in the sunshine in a walk. And so self-love has become something I've really integrated in how I live and be. But to have it be something that doesn't have to feel so hard and like so much extra work, that it can actually just be a state of being and like a mindset that we can have and create and approach life from. So that's been the biggest evolution for me, and allows me to have, a self-love practice be something that's very simple and integrated every day.
Which means you can do it every day. Like, if your favorite self-care practice is getting your nails done, not likely are you going to get your nails done every day. Or if it's getting a massage, again, I wish, but not likely that it's going to happen every day.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's, I think it is definitely a gift of progress, of doing the work, of being able to realize the the value that exists in being present. And it's such a stress reliever. And like you said, finding joy in the moments. And, you know, you can literally find joy in every moment somehow, some way.
Yeah.
Even when you're,
I think
Go ahead.
even for now, because you know, a lot of people are working from home now, or you know, or if they are going into the office, they're maybe only going a day or two of the week. And even from, because I work from my home office, and one of the things I started doing during the pandemic was just when I would take a break from my desk was walk outside. Now, granted, we live in Florida, so I can do that pretty much 365 days of the year. When I was in Michigan, I couldn't do that necessarily in the winter. I'd freeze my you know what off. But just to step outside and to be present, and like what I just do is like I'll step outside and I'll go stand in the grass, and I do have a puppy, so I'm outside with the puppy. He's running around. I just stand there and I look up at the trees and I take a few deep breaths and I just really enjoy the moment, because I think you're right. I mean, so many of us, I mean, yeah, I love getting my nails done. I like a good massage. I love a facial. I like getting pedicures, but I think to be able to do those little things every day really does help keep you more in harmony and just finding little bits of joy, and it just makes the days a lot more enjoyable. So
Yeah. And I feel like it's not just an act, it's more the feeling that the act like gives you. So that's been the other thing that I think is really powerful too, is knowing that it can look different every single day, but it can still be that feeling of self-love or that feeling of joy, abundance, presence, whatever. But that it also gives you permission for you to change your mind, and that's fine too. You know, I think sometimes we're so rigid, it must be this way, and I have to take the box off, and it's like, allow it to be the feeling that you're craving and the feeling that you're desiring, and I think like that's really what it's about. So yeah.
Awesome. All right. Fourth and final question. So, and this one came out of, we surveyed our potential audience before we created the podcast, asking, you know, what they need help with. And most of us women are super busy these days and wearing lots of hats and juggling lots of different things. And so to get everything done, you have to, you know, be accountable. So how do you create accountability in your life?
So I love this question because I think it's evolved again. I mean, that's, I guess, my theme of the conversation today. But I used to have like a list, and I would check it off and be like, yeah, I did the things. So I changed from a to-do list to a get-to-do list. So these are things I get to do. And so to hold myself accountable, I like to have it like 3 things, and it's like a joy list. Joy is like a theme and a word that I like to use in my own practice, but in the work that I do. And so I choose 3 things that will bring me this feeling of sensation of joy every day, and do that. And it can be different each day, but when I have those 3 things and I get them done, then everything else is a bonus. And then you're not living in this constant state of disappointment, not good enough. Oh my God, I didn't get anything done. There's so many things to do. Because when you really look at it, it's like, what are your priorities for that day and for that moment? And each day that can be different. And sometimes it's more work focused or, you know, physical focused, or sometimes it's like, you know, enjoying my husband and my relationship, and, you know, like we've been talking about, going for a walk or moving my body. And so I try to have them be in different areas of my life, and not have it be, you know, during the week if I'm working, I'll have it all be work related activities. But it is something that I know that when I complete it, I will feel that sense of joy, and that like, yes, I did it. But then also to see that you can have a list of a lot of other things, but these are the 3 priorities. And I get to do those. It's like an active choice that I'm getting to do versus having to do. But then everything else is bonus. So then there's some days where you're like, yes, look at these 20 things I got done. And other days you're like, well, I did those 3 things. Instead of being like, I only did this, you're like, yeah, I did that. I feel fulfilled. I feel great. And it gives you that space to be able to check in with yourself. And so I guess the other component of that is I've always found it helpful to either have some kind of visual tracker, whether it's on my phone or something I'm written out, or to have like accountability. So groups, checking into something like this, like a podcast or a coach or a mentor, someone kind of holding me accountable, or I've told, my husband or someone else, so that it's not just me, like I am dependent on it within myself and how I feel, but then somebody else knows, is also really helpful.
Nice. And we talk about that quite a bit, the get to versus have to. And it really just shifts the energy of whatever it is that you get to do. And I also think like as that progresses as well, it's almost like life presents you more things that you get to do. Like I don't have to work so hard to shift the have to a get to. It's like life just gives me more things that feel really get to. Like I'm lucky I get to do these things. And so I love that concept. That is great.
I have nothing to add because I'm like, yep, that's awesome.
Yep, that's what it is.
That's it. There you go. Everything from the get to the accountability to, you know what I mean? The partners and, yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
Awesome. So you ready with your takeaway, Allison?
I actually am. I really like what Katie said about when we were talking about the self-love practice, and really about it not so much being an act, but being a feeling, and having that moment of feeling in that presence. And it's really so true. Like I'm learning over the last few years that if I can just take those little moments. So I do the act, I get to that place where I'm in that moment, but then I, take a few deep breaths. It really helps me to be present and have that just feeling of awe and joy and gratefulness. Like, with the book we're reading about, Wake Up Grateful, like just to even think about when you're standing there and take a deep breath, like how much has to work just so like that you're taking that deep breath. Yeah, I mean, I could go off on this whole tangent and I won't do that. So I'll save everyone from that. But yeah, I really like that. And I just love that she talked about, how self-love is really, yes, we all like to do those things like a massage and nails, but it's really about, just finding joy in the simple moments and something that you can do every day.
Well, I also always teach people, like, we never want what we want because we want that thing or to do that thing or whatever. We want those things because of how we anticipate that we're going to feel when we have them or we do them. Mm-hmm. And when we can just focus on what we want to feel, life will give us more things to support that feeling.
Right.
So, with Katie saying, she's focusing on the joy. Mm-hmm. Every moment that she focuses on the joy, the universe is going to conspire in bringing her more things that make her feel joy. So that's focus on the feelings, people.
And I do have to add in the other part too. I'm sorry. I'm going to, when she was talking about the get to do list and about if you just even get those 3 things done, I think so many times I know for myself and as women, we get to the end of the day and we're like, oh, I had so much to do and I just didn't even barely. But if you can just narrow it down, like for me, I even at the end of the day, I'm very much a paper to pen girl. So me checking things off, crossing things off a list is very gratifying feeling. So for me to be able to do that and then look back and go, okay, yes, this was a crazy day, but look at all that I accomplished. Like that is huge and makes me feel, even as we're talking about it, I'm like, today's one of those days. It's kind of a crazy day. I just got back in town. I've been gone for 9 days. I have a lot on my plate. But when I know when it comes to be 6:00 tonight and I go back and I look at all the things that I accomplished, it will just make me feel, I mean, I know I'll be like, all right, it's all good because I did what I needed to do. Which honestly, today is all about our podcast interviews. So that's what matters.
So at the end of the day, we get to celebrate that we made
that's right
4 podcasts.
That's
well,
right.
And so on that note, that's like my takeaway. this morning in the car, again, I'm still listening to the principle. Is it success principle? Success principle.
It's a success. I mean, the book is like this thick, I think. So like that's got to be like 20
I'm listening to it.
Yeah.
But the one thing that he was talking about, and then it was like, Katie's here, like repeating the message to make sure that I hear the message. It is about celebrating the things that you get done. Instead of beating yourself up for what you didn't get done, celebrate what you did get done. And even if it's, I put my pants on without falling over, like it doesn't, I made it to my appointment and back without getting a speeding ticket. I don't know. But, and I joke about those things, but for real, like we do so much every day. And then, if we're just sitting there going, oh, I should have got this done and this done and this done. No, like celebrate what you did get done, because you did the best you could do. And then there's tomorrow. So Katie, what's your takeaway?
I was just laughing when you said that. I'm like, that actually is a huge celebration right now if I can put pants on without falling over or being out of breath. So I'm like, yes, absolutely.
Well, you have to share with our audience. Katie
I'm 34 weeks pregnant. So like bending down, my husband is like, what, are you okay? I'm like, I just put something in the dishwasher because I'm like, oh, so those little things are like, that's a big deal. But what I was just going to add to what you guys are saying with that space is I think like is celebrating when we get those things done too, because celebrations are really like a party from this energy and space of gratitude too. And I know that that's been like the theme of what you guys are reading too. And I think it kind of creates this loop and cycle that, you can then celebrate, wow, look at all these things I did. And then you're in this space and energy of gratitude, which just attracts more abundance and good things into your life. So it's really an energy shift. So I would say from this conversation, the biggest takeaway that I have is not just the feeling and like, Juliet, I'm so about that when a sense of like, as the new year approaches, goals, like don't just write down the goal. It's the desire feeling behind the goal that we really want. And I'm like, I preach that so much. I have a whole program on that. So I'm like, yep. But is that when you get into that energy and that space and that feeling, everything else clicks. And then I'm just going to like tie this in because we're all like, we look at the body and health is when you're in that feeling of joy or that feeling of gratitude, like not only do you attract more of what you want, but your body feels better, your mind feels better. You're not in this state of illness or disease. Like there's wellness in you and it allows your body to work how it's supposed to, allows your mind to work how it's supposed to. So these small little things really truly can make a huge difference in not just your life and your mindset and your mental well-being, but your physical health and well-being, so that anything that somebody like any of the three of us would do with you for your body or what's going on like in your health, like you're actually setting yourself up to be in an optimal state for all of these other pieces to work. And so I've always like talked about this thing of joy, feeling the space of joy, because it really truly allows you to thrive in every aspect of your life by making these small little shifts. And it's like this concept of habit stacking is that like it just starts to add up over time, and then it's like inevitable that you're going to start to feel better, your body's going to start to work in the ways that you want it to, and then your mindset shifts. And so the energy behind all of it can really help all of these other areas of your life. So I'm sure if you guys are listening to this podcast, like with any of the conversations that have been had, like these small little shifts can really truly transform all of these other areas of your life as well.
Listen to her. She speaks the truth.
I mean, she's talking about habit stacking. She's got it all kind of like, wait, what? Like, yes.
Awesome. All right. Great show, ladies. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today, Katie, in your hectic schedule and super pregnant state. And I want to say thank you to all our listeners out there. And if you've liked what you've heard, please follow, subscribe, like, share. And I will invite you all again to, if you weren't listening at the beginning of the show, we're asking for feedback. Rate us on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being we're fantastic, 1 being we're not. And if we're not a 10 for you, give us some feedback of what would make this podcast a 10 for you. And if you need to get a hold of any of us, Dr. Katie, Allison, my information, the contact information is all in the show notes or the comments below. And I think that's it. I wish you all a very magical day.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.